And it's time now for our good afternoon. I should start with that. Good afternoon. It's time for our reading of Matthew 25 today. And we're going to read chapter 25 of Matthew. We've got a couple left. We're going to read through the end of Matthew between now and Thursday. 25 today, 26 tomorrow, 27 on Wednesday, and 28 on Thursday, the final chapter on the day when Christ was arrested after praying in the garden, which we talked about earlier in our video today, and a great deal talked about the significance of that prayer for us, because the significance of that prayer is, of course, undeniable. But the significance of that prayer for you and I think is sometimes, I don't know. I was going to say overlooked, but it's not overlooked. There's a lot of people talking about it. It's just that, I mean, for me, I can't speak for you, but for me, I never really thought about it until just recently. The last couple of years, I've been the prayer of John 17. I've been thinking about the last few months, the last few years. Everything that's in that prayer has been something that's just been kind of moving in me. That I think the Spirit has been like, I got to get him ready because here it comes, And sometimes when certain things are happening, I think to myself, like, what's coming next? I can't wait. By the way, I want you to know that I can't wait. I can't wait for the next thing that the Spirit is going to open up to me, or is going to show me where I have something kind of mistaken, and it's like, hey, look at this. This is the truth. I can't wait for that. So it's why we do these studies. It's why we do these readings. It's so that we can mull over all of the different things. So I hope you're, reading along, paying attention, maybe even jotting down some notes. I'd love to know what you think. Email chuckles@godslovelive.com or text that number right above me, 814-651-8865. And here we go. Chapter 25 of Matthew. At that time, the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 virgins who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The foolish ones took their lamps, but did not take any oil with them. Seems kind of silly. The wise ones, however, took oil along in jars with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they had all become drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight, a cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." All the virgins woke up and trimmed their lamps, but the foolish ones said to the wise, "Give us some of your oil, our lamps are going out." "And no," they replied, "there may not be enough for both us and you. Instead, go to those who sell oil and buy some for yourselves." But while they were on their way to buy the oil, the bridegroom arrived. The virgins who were ready went in with him to the wedding banquet, and the door was shut. Later, the others also came. "Lord, Lord," they said, "open the door for us." But he replied, "Truly I tell you, I don't know you. Therefore, keep watch, because you don't know the day or the hour," which we just discussed yesterday in chapter 24. The day and the hour are unknown, and how we need to be on guard, prepared to go. Why would Jesus tell a parable like this between his triumphant entry and his crucifixion and then resurrection, if not to make the point that we should probably get ready? The parable of the bags of gold starts in verse 14 of chapter 25. "Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 bags of gold, to another 2 bags, to another 1 bag, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received 5 bags of gold immediately went and put the money to work, gaining 5 more bags. Also, the one with 2 bags gained 2 more bags. But the man who had received 1 bag went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. We've talked about this one a multitude of times. After a long time, the master of those servants returned to settle accounts with them. The man who had received 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. Master, you entrusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I have gained 5 more. The master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. The man with 2 bags of gold also came. Master, you entrusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have gained 2 more. And the master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness. Remember that. Then the man who had received 1 bag of gold came. Master, he said, I knew that you were a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid. I went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. You knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well, then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have at least received it back with interest. So take the bag of gold from him, give it to the one who has 10. For whoever has been given more, whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them, and throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. This has come up, the weeping and gnashing of teeth has come up as a statement in a couple of places as we've been reading through these chapters of Matthew. And I think that we need to go back and revisit that weeping and gnashing of teeth. I'd like to talk a little bit more about this parable of the bags of gold. We're going to do that after we read the rest of the chapter. The sheep and the goats. This is going to be a longer video than I originally intended, because it's going to be a little bit more than just reading. When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all his angels with him, he will sit on the glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him. He will separate the people from one from another, as a shepherd separates sheep from goats. He will put the sheep on his right and the goats on his left, and then the king will say to those on the right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothing, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me. The righteous then will answer him, when, Lord, did we see you hungry and feed you, thirsty and give you something to drink? A stranger that we invited you in, needing clothes that we clothed you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go visit you? And the king will reply, truly, whatever you have done for the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you did for me. Then he will say to those on the left, depart from me, you who are cursed, into the eternal fire prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me nothing to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me nothing to drink. I was a stranger, and you did not invite me in. I needed clothes. You did not clothe me. I was sick and in prison. You did not look after me. And they will also answer, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty, a stranger or needing clothing, sick or in prison, and not help you? And he will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you did not do for me. And then they will go away into eternal punishment, but the righteous to eternal life. So I'm going to try to keep this fairly short, less than half an hour. So first I want to go back and I want to look at the parable of the 10 virgins. Have your lamp ready. That's make sure you have everything you need. What's that mean? What do you need? What all do you need? Well, see, that's the complicated part. Having everything you need, simple. Knowing what it is you need, complicated. I know wait a second, Chuck. Simply complicated. I want to stick with this, okay? Because in verse 5, it says, the bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. Not just the 5 who didn't have, but they all became drowsy and fell asleep. So what does that mean? All 10 of them fell asleep. But when the others, when the 5 woke up and didn't have fuel, they couldn't keep their lamps burning to guide the bridegroom and so that he would know them. But the 5 that had fuel, they just lit theirs and they went on and they found the master and they went into the banquet with him. And the door was shut. And then when the others who didn't have fuel came, I didn't know you. I don't know you. Because he didn't see them when he came. They were off getting fuel. If you're off doing something other than the master's work when he comes, he's not going to know you. Does that sound about right? That doesn't mean if you're at McDonald's. My daughter works at McDonald's. I don't believe that means that if she's working that day at McDonald's, no. What we're talking about here is the idea that if we're at the master's work each and every day, even in that place, okay, my daughter goes to her work at McDonald's and she's there and she's doing the work of the Lord because she's loving people. I'm not even talking about standing on a pedestal behind the counter at McDonald's preaching the gospel of Jesus. I mean, that's great if you can. But I'm talking about loving people in a way that shows them God's love. He uses the virgins and the bridegroom as an example to show. And I think these 3 stories kind of go together as well. Because then you talk about the gold. They put the gold to work for him. I've been given gifts by my Lord, and I'm going to put them to work for him to hopefully bear fruit. Obviously, when Jesus shows up, I'm not going to have bags of gold. Here you go, Lord. He doesn't need any of that. He doesn't even need what I'm going to have for him, which is hopefully one more soul. If I hear, well done and good and faithful servant, it's going to be because somebody heard me testifying to what I know is true, and that led them to the truth. And I think at that point, it's going to be, okay, man, here you go. Here's some more work. My reward here, because that's the gist of this story, right? Share your master's happiness. But right before that, you have been faithful with few things. I will put you in charge of many things. So this master looks at him and says, you did such a great job. I'm going to give you more work. And that's glorious. It is a glorious thing for the master to give you more work. As I'm going through what I'm doing now, if God gives me more to do, I praise him because I must be doing something at least somewhat right. That's why he keeps, here you go. Here you go. Here's more stuff to learn. Here's more things to talk about. Here's more people to talk to. Here's more people that needs help. I'll line them up on the floor of my kitchen. I swear I'll do it. All right, so then we get to the sheep and the goats, and this is where we get down to the brass tacks of all 3 of these. When the Lord comes, he's going to say, come you who are blessed. And there are going to be people looking at him going, because you did all this for me, come, you're blessed. Come get your inheritance. And there will be people who are going, wait, I don't remember ever doing that. Well, you did it for all these other people. And what you've done for the least of these, I mean, this is one of the simplest things, I think, that in the teaching about the kingdom of the heavens that we can talk about. You've done for the... It doesn't say you've done for the least of these. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Okay, so someone in prison, I came to visit him. Obviously, it's not Jesus. It's not Paul. It doesn't say I was in prison because of the gospel. It just says in prison. You have to assume some of these people were in prison for doing wrong. He looked at the man on the other cross and said, "You'll be with me today." Because he asked. Because he believed. And the same thing goes for the others. There are going to be people who have been good Christian people their entire lives. Went to church every Sunday, maybe even donated to the food bank. But they drive down the street and see somebody in need and don't, or they're walking down the street and see somebody in need and they don't talk to them, they don't see them, they don't offer to help at all. And there's times where that's me. There are times where I'll see somebody who may be in need of help and maybe I'm a little short that month. Maybe I don't have, much or anything in my pockets, whatever. There was a guy at a gas station in State College a few months ago. I started talking to him. First he was trying to get to something and he was having a hard time because he was in a wheelchair. I went over and helped him. And I walked out, and as I was walking out, I thought, man, I should have, because he had a messed up leg. I should have asked him if I could pray for him, I thought. And as I'm walking back to my car, I'm thinking, Lord, if I see him come out of here before I'm done pumping gas, I'm going to go over and I'm going to see if I can pray for him. And sure enough, right as I was finishing up pumping gas, there he comes out the store. So I went over, and I talked to him, and I prayed for him. I said, would you mind if I prayed with you? He's like, yeah, man. And I gave him my card, and I said, here's my number. I said, if you need anything, you need help, call me. And as I left, during the discussion, I found out he was homeless. As I left, got in my car and drove away, I was on my way home. And there's a lot of people that would say that what I did was, wow, man, that was great. You talked to him, you helped him, you all the things you did, that was awesome. But all I could keep thinking was, he was homeless. I've got a couch. Why didn't I bring him home? What you do to the least of these, for the least of these, you've done for me. What you've not done for the least of these, you didn't do for me. As we move through the rest of this season, keep that in mind. I'll be back tomorrow to read chapter 26. Of course, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. we'll have the radio show. 9 a.m. to noon, Pastor Ryan's on. I'll be on noon to 4. And, of course, our video in the afternoon talking about our Lord's mission, how he shares it with us, and the authority and the power to make it happen. Thank you for joining me. Have a great day. Talk to you later.